A 40-foot boat has always been more appealing. But over the years, as I've been around sailing communities, I've noticed that the vast majority of people who enjoy ownership the most are on 30-footers. I don't think this is a coincidence. Today I'm going to offer you a different perspective. Let's start with number 1, the comfort issue. But 40 feet is more comfortable, you'll say. You're right. Cabins are bigger, the head is more spacious, the galley is more functional. I'm not disputing that. But ask yourself this, who is that comfort for? If you're bringing your family, taking guests, doing offshore passages for weeks, yes, the larger cabins of a 40-footer make sense. But most people don't use their boat that way. Weekends, 1 or 2 friends, maybe one night out. Do you really need that extra 10 feet for that? There's also this. After you get used to a 40-foot boat, 30 feet feels small. This is very clearly stated in forums. Going up is easy, going down is hard. So if you start with 40, a few years later you're saying, this isn't enough, and you're looking at 50. This isn't really about boats. This is how human psychology works. They call it big boatitis, big boat disease, and it's contagious. In my opinion, for most boat owners, this is definitely an age and ego thing. There's also the fact that many people don't know how little they actually know. That's a harsh comment, but there's truth in it. People buy big boats because they can, because it looks good, because others are doing it too. But it's not coming from need, it's coming from something else. Number 2, how often do you actually use the boat? Take this question seriously. Because when you talk to 40-foot boat owners, most say they go out 10 to 15 times a year. 30-foot owners say 3 to 4 times a week. Same budget, same time, completely different experience. Why? Getting a 40-foot boat into a slip by yourself is an operation. If there's wind, if there's waves, if the marina is crowded, your head starts getting tired before you even begin. Docking stress is not something to underestimate. Listen to what this guy said. Single-handed sailing is the easy part for me. The real stress is docking and mooring. As the boat gets bigger, I rapidly lose my ability to muscle it into place at the dock. This isn't just physical, it's psychological. Before every outing, the thought, how am I going to get this into the slip on the way back, comes to your mind. With a 40-footer, the margin for error is narrow, and the consequences are heavy. With 30 feet, this calculation works differently. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions to go out. Even if the sea is a bit rough, you can handle it just fine. And this difference really shows by the end of the year. A user in the community commented, I enjoy my stupid boat much more because I take it out 3 to 4 times a week by myself in all conditions. He said stupid boat, meaning small, simple, old. But 4 times a week on the water. Number 3, money. Everyone knows this, but let's talk numbers. Slip fees. A marina that charges $400 to $600 a month for 30 feet goes up to $700 to $1,000 for 40 feet. Annually, that's a difference between $2,400 and $4,800, just for parking. Insurance. As the boat gets bigger, premiums don't increase linearly, they increase faster. 40 feet means an average of 40 to 60% higher premiums compared to 30 feet. Haul out. Every 2.5 years, you have to pull the boat out of the water, paint the bottom, have it inspected. For 30 feet, this is $1,500 to $2,200. For 40 feet, it's $2,800 to $4,000. Same job, same period. Sails and rigging. This is where the difference becomes dramatic. For 30 feet, standard parts are available everywhere. Prices are reasonable. With 40 feet, the mainsail, genoa, lines, everything is 50 to 100% more expensive. And some parts can't be bought off the shelf, they require special order. Someone with a 40-footer for 17 years wrote on a forum, if it were 30 feet, maintenance would take about 30% less time. Not just money, time too. Berthing costs should be considered a separate category. One guy said over the last 10 years, more than 40% of what he spent went to mooring fees. Think about that. Not on the boat, not on the engine, not on sails, not on electronics, just on sitting in the marina. This ratio is more balanced with 30 feet because the slip is cheaper, and some marinas find space for smaller boats more easily. By the way, pay attention to what you put inside when you own 40 feet. You install air conditioning because it fits. Big water maker system, generator, larger battery bank, inverter. You wouldn't have bought these if they didn't fit in 30 feet. So the cost of 40 feet doesn't just come from its size. It also comes from the systems it brings with it. Number 4, single-handed use. I want to expand on this topic a bit more because it's the most discussed topic in communities. Boats over 35 feet are physically demanding. This isn't an opinion, it's something experienced in practice. Dropping the mainsail, furling a large Genoa, executing a long docking maneuver, an extra pair of hands makes all of these easier. When you don't have it, everything becomes one level harder. Let's listen to the words of a 71-year-old Hinckley 51 owner. "I don't have the mobility and strength I had 5 years ago. I can no longer single-hand the big Genoa. I can only fly asymmetric spinnakers or code sails alone in true winds below 14 knots." When you read this sentence, you need to stop and think. The guy is saying he has a 51-foot boat but can no longer fully use it by himself. And this didn't come by planning. It came slowly. Things he could do 5 years ago, he can't do now. The painful part is this. You buy a big boat when your health is good, because you can handle it then. But 10 years later, you don't have the same strength, the same flexibility. And you have to sell the boat right when you want to spend time on the water. With 30 feet, this threshold comes much later, both in terms of physical strength and technically. Roller furling systems, electric winches, bow thrusters, these can be installed on 30-footers at much more affordable prices, and they already make most things manageable single-handed. Going with your spouse or a friend, great, but there might not always be someone available to go. When that day comes, 30 feet is a much easier choice. Number 5. Sea behavior. Here 40 feet has a real advantage, let's be honest. Bigger boats roll less in waves. In 4 to 5 foot seas, a 30-footer moves considerably, while a 40-footer stays much calmer in the same conditions. This is really important if you're doing offshore sailing, planning long distances. But who are we saying this for? 40 feet makes sense for people doing offshore, spending weeks at sea. This needs to be underlined. Most boat owners aren't doing offshore. They're doing coastal cruising, going out on weekends, maybe hopping from one island to another. For this usage profile, the sea behavior of 30 feet is sufficient, more than sufficient. Already the 36 to 42-foot range is shown as the sweet spot among experienced sailors in terms of the balance of comfort, cost, and single-handed use. But 30 feet isn't far from this table at all. Especially 30-footers produced in the last 10 years show very good sea behavior. Design has improved, weight distribution has been optimized. Comparing them to old 30-footers would be unfair. Number 6. Downsize stories. I think this is the most valuable part of the video. Let me tell you this story I've come across many times in different versions. A guy or couple dreams of a big 40-foot boat, waits until retirement, finally buys the boat, sets off with great excitement. Within a year, maybe 2 years, the boat is sold. And they never go to sea again. Why? Because the gap between dream and reality was too big. Maintenance, cost, physical burden, loneliness, it all crashed down on them at once. And at that point, there's no motivation left to say, let me continue with a smaller boat. People who used 40 feet for years downsize to 30 and say, I wish I had switched earlier. Less stress, less maintenance, but the important part, more time actually sailing. Most people agree, going up is very easy, going down is hard. So going from 30 to 40 is psychologically easy. But the reverse is really difficult. After you get used to 40 feet, 30 feels small, and this feeling doesn't go away easily. Here's what I take from this. Starting and staying at 30 doesn't push you toward 40 in later years. But if you start with 40, going back is much harder, both psychologically and financially. Number 7. Maintenance reality. Maintenance isn't just money, it's time and energy too. Think about a 40-foot boat. Bigger deck, longer lines, more wire, more systems. Everything scales proportionally. Not just parts cost, every task takes longer. If you're working on the boat every weekend, a 30% time difference is huge. Saturday morning you spend 2 hours instead of 3. That 1 hour gives you something more time to actually go sailing. There's also the parts issue. With 40 feet, some parts are no longer mainstream off-the-shelf materials. Special orders might be needed, delivery times get longer. With 30 feet, most things are standard. Something breaks, you order it, it arrives in 2 days. With 40 feet, you might wait 2 weeks. Number 8. Which 30 feet? This needs to be discussed too, because when you say 30 feet, everyone thinks of something different. A good 30-footer offers enough interior volume for daily use. 2 cabins, a small galley, a head, this is enough for a week-long cruise. Not for long offshore, but this video isn't discussing that anyway. Brand selection is important here. There's quality production in the 30-foot segment, Beneteau first, Jeanneau Sun Fast, Dealer 30. These are solid, parts are easy to find, and they hold their resale value relatively well. If you want to buy a used 30-footer, keep these brands in mind. Look at the maintenance history. When was the rigging renewed? How many hours on the engine? But let me also say this, you need to make this decision yourself. Every boat has advantages and disadvantages. It's possible to find a 30-foot boat for $10,000. That boat can keep you on the water, but definitely set aside a budget for the first year for unexpected repairs. This applies to 30 feet as well as 40 feet. It's just that with 30 feet, this shock comes smaller. So what's the conclusion? I'm not saying big boats are bad. Depending on your usage profile, your experience, your plans, 40 feet might be the right choice. But you need to ask yourself this: why are you buying the boat? To own it or to use it? By making this video for you, I've presented a perspective. The rest is up to you. What's your experience? Did you use 30 feet? 40? Or if you've tried both, write the difference in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. See you next time.